Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Um, I'm just here to talk about some of the books that I've produced over the past year. Um, I'm using AI to help me write these books. That's how I'm writing so many. But this one is my best book, the one I'm most proud of. It's called The Pride of Christ. And what's cool about it is it's got, uh, epic pictures throughout the book. Um, Along with the text, it reads, let's find, that's just, so it's an expensive book online. The hardcover is because it's color and it's got all those pictures. But this is my baby of a book. The idea has been around in my head for 8 years. Uh, it introduces like a concept called post-traumatic pride. And that's something that I just kind of thought of in my head, thinking that just sounds really good, and it sounds like uh, what I've always been after, in my journey. Whenever I fall down. So, I think we all suffer through trauma, and this book kind of walks through the final day of Jesus's life and shows, the layers of pride that um, he went through to withstand all the suffering and torture that he bared. It took a lot of pride to stay committed to who he was, and we all someday get that terrible message or diagnosis, and you know through that suffering, we do need to have pride. That's really the step that carries you out of the chaos of the trauma, and you know um, uh, you know uh, the book introduces the concept of post-traumatic pride, and it kind of does it through the story of Jesus's last day, and it's a really cool book, and um, it's on Amazon, and if you want to read it, um, I'd really appreciate that. There's a hardcover. It's pretty expensive, like $45, but the soft cover, it's got the pictures. It's just not color. I think that's only $15. So big difference, but you understand why. It's just so expensive to produce a color book. I'm not trying to make too much money off of it. I make the same amount of money off each. It's just the cost to produce these color books, and I really like the color books. I think it's a unique feature to a book. I basically produced the book, and then I plugged each chapter piece by piece into Grok, and I would produce, maybe like 50 pictures for each chapter, and just select, the top, six that I liked, and the pictures alone tell the story of uh, of the book. In the beginning of the book, it's very grim. We're walking through Jesus's final day, and we're doing it hour by hour, and it's pretty dark. To put yourself in his shoes, to walk through the pain and suffering that he had to. Um, I think that's what Christianity is all about. So I think it's good for us to to think about it. These are just unique pictures, really cool. I try to make them like all epic. I'm trying to really uh, make the picture shine. And anyway, this book introduces this post traumatic pride, and tells it through the story of Jesus. And I really hope, I think anyone who's read it so far, I mean, only relatives they've all think it's amazing. So, but they're my relatives, so of course they're gonna say that. So, hopefully some people read it and those few like it. And if you do, I really hope if you give me like a good review so that it multiplies. But like, after I wrote this book, I wanted to write a version of post-traumatic pride that wasn't religious. And this book does a really good job. It's just for normal people. Doesn't have any religious connotation to it, but it talks about post-traumatic pride, and it breaks it down into like 5 core accretive steps to to kind of getting from trauma to pride, post-traumatic pride, from PTSD to post-traumatic pride is kind of what we're trying to do here. So this book has 5 parts, and it kind of starts at the level of trauma, and then it kind of goes through integration. Wherever you are, whatever you have, you don't need to fight it so much. What you need to do is accept it, is to talk to it, to observe it, and to integrate it into yourself, and actually maybe thank it for what it is and what it's trying to do. With any post-traumatic fear that you have, whether you hate confrontation, whether you freeze and you just can't say anything, or whether you're maybe even too aggressive and you are more of a fighter, there's nothing to be ashamed of that person, because that person was only trying to protect you, and because it survived, it obviously did its job. And that's really where this book starts, is to come to grips with fully who you are. Most of us, compartmentalize who we are. There's an angry side, there's a nice side, there's a go-getter side, there's a lazy side, and who are you? At any time, whatever that person or mood is, it sometimes doesn't like to reflect on the other pieces about you that that person is not so proud of. Like right now, I've been going to the gym for 21 days, so I have my go-getter mind on, and I really hate the lazy side of me. But this book, where it starts, recognition, or what we're trying to get to, is stabilization. You're at overwhelm from the start. Your nervous system is going nuts. We're trying to get you to stability, and I think the best way to do that is to really come to grips with whatever caused whatever, and accept it and thank it, and talk to it. And there's a higher mind, a part of you, and what we're asking to do is just kind of take all the compartmentalized pieces of you that don't like to talk to each other, and bring them all into the family, in your mind. That's what integration is all about, and that's kind of what part 2 is about. And once we kind of get to the integration, we're now becoming a more whole person. We are rebuilding the nervous system. We're no longer compartmentalizing. We integrate our anger so that we're not somebody to be messed with, and we are proud of our anger, and we'll always use it when necessary, because that is what protects the parts of us that get triggered. We're going to thank our lazy side, because that really helps your blood pressure. You don't need to call it depression, just call it sedation. We need to thank that part of us, because that part keeps you safe. We need to thank the aggressive side, the go-getter side, because that's what probably gets you paid. That's kind of what allowed you to move up in your life. So, we're all about integration with step two. And then, then it starts getting good. We start talking about post-traumatic growth. That's like the accepted outcome for PTSD. And, I totally agree with that. With, that's what this book is doing. It's growing us, um, out of the trauma and into a higher state. But, growth is more like of an action phase. We are going through post-traumatic growth. As soon as we go from overwhelm to stabilization, we are always going growth. That's what we're aiming after, at least. Growth is action, but uh, you know, we're looking for a permanent mind state. And after all the growth, after being somebody who just actually loves who they are and loves the days that they get through and no longer have that mental turmoil, you've arrived. And you know uh you deserve to be proud of what you came through and what you are now. And there's no shame and pride. I know to the naturally proud, we always teach them to be humble. But what do we say to the naturally humble? We tell them to be more humble, and that almost shrinks them into nothingness, into being nothing and nobody. And there's nothing of value to somebody who is harmless. They get walked all over in life. Nobody fears them. There's nothing noble about it. You want to be um, somebody who is dangerous, but has that harness. So somebody who's capable of stepping up and controlling an environment if it ever needs to. I think that's what a big piece of masculinity is. So, I think the real medicine to all this trauma that you're going through is pride. Um, Trauma really humbles you to the core, and it just buries you in shame. And, the antidote to that, I think, is pride. And, I wrote my first book, which introduced pride in Jesus. And I know nobody likes to bring those two things together, but for me, I think there's no stronger connection. I receive my pride in myself in through Jesus. And you know of course Jesus is always telling me to be humble when I am too proud and arrogant, but I think he's the one who's really filling me up with pride day in and day out when I most need it. So I feel like that's the direction he wants me to head. And I hope this book is a journey for you, um, to get over your trauma. I was so excited about this book that I wrote a 5-part um, piece to it. So the 5 parts to this book are made into a book a piece. So the first book is called Bent But Breathing, and it's stage 1, from overwhelm to stabilization. So this is a very heavy book, very heavy, because we're kind of walking through your trauma. We're trying to make agreements with it. We're trying to accept who we are. This is before integration. Um, Very heavy book. And then it really gets to good things very early. We're not here to drown you in your sorrow. We're here to get you over your trauma. I think when Jesus said, "It is finished," maybe he was talking to us in our trauma. He died for us to live well. So let's 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 try to finish our trauma and get over it. And that's really the message of all my books. We're not here to drown in our sorrows. We're here to get over it and be stronger for it. So book 2 is rebuilding the nervous system from fragmentation to internal stabilization. Book 2, integration. So this is a real cool book. Integration. I mean, as a programmer, there's nothing better than integrating tools. Integration of the mind. I mean, that's all about internal engineering. This really is an awesome book. Really, once you figure it out, once you integrate your angry side with your nice side, with your go-getter side, with your lazy side, with your evil side, your God side, all the sides of you, bring it all together into one core person. Accept it all. It's who you are, and that's what integration's all about. And book 3, this is where we get to post-traumatic pride. This book is really like the cornerstone of post-traumatic pride. So it gets really good really fast. The glory book is book 3. This is about embodiment. And then book 4 is called Living Upright, and this is a very proud book about sovereignty. So, after you've been through the fire, and after you've been proud for a few years, if you see those old men like that, I think the word for that is sovereignty. And the 5th book, it hasn't arrived yet, but that's coming soon. And I really hope it is helpful to people. I'm anxious to see what people think of those books. This book is also really cool. The Architecture of Trauma. This is kind of how I wrote these books. I first wrote this book, and it's 50 books. It's a summary of 50 books, all trauma. So it's 50 different point of views, the leading point of views from researchers, people with books. So this summary or just creates a summary for each book. So after I have this, then I was able to create the methodology of post-traumatic pride. So it's not like a hocus pocus theory. Of course, I didn't do it. I'm an engineer. I'm a computer engineer. I've been using AI since day one, and of course, these books are mine. But how is somebody able to produce 30 books in 6 months? Obviously, with some help. It really. I've never been a good writer. I've never been somebody who can speak well or really say what I'm feeling and let it be empathized. I've never had that, but with AI, I can just like vomit my thoughts, which don't sound good, uh, into ChatGPT, and then it knows what I said. It respects what I said, and it turns what I said into something that is more captivating, something that would be more honored by the reader. So I mean, that's like the new age. I think, I think writers are probably all doing this too. Um, my books are going to be really niche, just trying to focus on the things to help myself. I mean, I'm the biggest reader of these books. I really felt like over these past months, I've tackled the area of trauma, uh, created this post-traumatic pride thing, and now, or like for lately, I've been going after schizophrenia and bipolar, um, and I'll make a video soon for that. But that's kind of my problem. That's what I got, and I've grown a lot in 10 years with the disease or whatever you call it. But I'm so much further than where I was, and I know there's a lot. There's more to go. Um, So I got like 4 books related to schizophrenia, bipolar, and the first book is, well, the first book I wrote, period, was called The Psychosis Spectrum. I'll show that. This is the first book I wrote. This is really me, fully me. Uh, just 100 essays, not really related, but all related to the schizophrenia bipolar journey that I've been on. So really good book, really raw. My first book that I wrote. Very proud of it though. I put a different name because uh, this is not really what you want everyone to know about you. So uh, only strangers, I guess, that I'll never meet in public. But real people, no, I don't want you to know this. Um, but I did a 50-book summary on all of the top bipolar schizophrenia books and kind of sucked together all of those methodologies into um, a methodology that kind of brings it all together but creates its own. So I have a book called The Shattered Self, and that just came out, and that's a real cool book. Um, and then the next book that I want to write is kind of like uh, it's going to be like the same as The Shattered Self, which is like non-religious, but religious connotation to that. That's kind of my thing. I think what I'm doing, the pattern is create a 50-book summary on a topic, and then create my own books on the topic, and then create Christian books on the topic. Um, and those are 3 very different books. But the biggest learner is me. I'm really trying to nip some things in the bud, things that I've struggled with in my life, trauma, schizophrenia, bipolar, um, and there's certainly some other topics that I want to tackle. Uh, I wrote a workbook. Uh, I'm not going to show it, but for my field, data and analytics. Um, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I'm enjoying these books. I want to probably build a website that kind of just becomes like a personal space. I mean, obviously, I'll share it with people, but just a really exhaustive website just of all the things that interest me. That just kind of sounds like a fun project. I like to organize things. Um, that'd be a fun project, and I can link in all my books and try to sell the books, and that would be cool. I don't know how well they'll sell. I mean, realistically, maybe like 100, and I'll make maybe about $300. It's going to be slow, but it's just a hobby that I'm enjoying doing. It's just a new way to learn is to write the books that you want to read to help fix yourself. So it's hard for me to take credit for these books. I'm just trying to help myself and hoping um, that God will steer me in a direction that uh, is better. And so far, I really feel like that belief system is actually true with the way I'm doing things. I'm not being lied to. I mean, I know everyone is really concerned about AI. Me too. I know it's probably gonna take everything that I do work-wise and be able to do it automatically. I'm just a coder. I'm a technical guy, and all that stuff that I've learned coding-wise is very easy for AI to do. So I think that's the big reason why I want to kind of create these books and try to create a way for me to make a business and have income, because I feel like my days are numbered as far as, being a data engineer and BI engineer. So anyway, well, thanks for listening. Have a good one.